Breaking the spell of dark energy. Hi, I'm Ann Margaret with this week's Sacred Sunday message to raise the vibration of your body, mind, and spirit. So, there is a very simple secret to shattering this spell of negativity that so many of us are sensing, are feeling day to day. But it really requires the our egoic center to align with our soul. And this spell has been cast from this bubbling over cauldron of negativity, of rage, of self victimization, of hatred, of separateness. And today we are going to learn about four traps, four truths, and four questions that will quickly break the spell of this dark energy. Because guys, life is precious. It's a gift, and it's time to reclaim that gift and stop feeding our life force to this energy. So let's dive in. Thanks for joining me. Number one trap: fearing that the darkness will win, fearing that the darkness is more powerful than it really is. This is such an important trap to remember and to catch yourself when you're falling into it. The truth is that the light is always greater than the darkness. Always. And we can see this quite literally, physically, in our physical world with a dark room. When we light one candle, all of that darkness goes away. There's shadows, yes, all of that still exists, but that one single candle expels the darkness. We have to look at where we're focusing, and where we're focusing, that determines the light that we're seeing. So unless we're in a cave in nature, we're underground or we're underwater, humans are the ones who create the segregated spaces where physical darkness can exist. Think about it. So if you're outside at night, that's where we usually think about the dark, right? It's dark at night. We go outside. We have the moon. We have the moon. The moon illuminates. And even on the darkest nights of each month, the new moon, we can see the most stars. So we are actually never in complete darkness in nature unless we're in a cave, unless we're underwater, or unless we're underground, or unless we are in those man-made segregated spaces of our homes where physical darkness can exist. So this is a really great metaphor to remember that we are the ones who create this energetic, mental, and spiritual darkness that is not in nature unless we are in a cave, underground, or underwater, okay? And even then, there's something really magical about those three places as well. So let's look even further, okay? So with the stars in the blackest of night, we're still able to see, we even see more light than we normally would. So closing our metaphorical eyes or our literal eyes are what creates the most darkness. So if we go out into nature, we experience that there is always light. If we go into our segregated man-made spaces, then we can experience darkness. If we light a single candle or a single match, that lightness goes away. But how about when we close our eyes? We do see the shadows of the light around us, but if we're in a dark space and we do close our eyes, this is what creates the most darkness. We close our physical eyes or we close our metaphorical eyes and we stop seeing, we stop looking, we stop searching, we stop really allowing ourselves to witness what's going on. This is what creates the most darkness. So the question for this first trap is, where are you focusing? And better yet, can you be that candle? Can you be that light, that match in the darkness? All right, number two trap is fearing the darkness. Period. Fearing the darkness is the other trap, is the number two trap. So the truth here that expels this trap or this grip of this spell is that the darkness is not to be feared, but it has a very intentional purpose in this creation that we're living in. It has a very intentional purpose. It's not to be feared. Think about it this way, any painters out there. If you had a palette of paint without the black in there, without the shadow, without the darkness, the painting would be completely superficial without any depth. And God gave us the entire palette of colors to paint this canvas of our lives. So if we reject or we fear the darkness, if we reject the darkness, the depth of our human experience will be superficial, like a painting that's painted without any of the black mixed in, any of the shadow mixed in. And we're also going to be rejecting our full human experience. We'll be masking our pain with false idols, with addiction, with escapism. So if we're in rejection, we're missing the full depth of the human experience. And if we ignore it, if we ignore the darkness, whether it be in ourselves or whether it be in others, we'll be robbed of the richness of its true purpose and its wisdom. So think about somebody who is old and wise. We ran into this beautiful friend of ours, Marianne, last night as we were walking around the lake. And she gave us a slew of wisdom. And she is, I think she's 78 years old. But wisdom comes with age. It comes with experience. It comes with perspective. And in order to have that experience, we have to experience that darkness. We have to experience the depth of the human emotional experience, okay? And we can think about this too, like if we're just trying to escape, we're just trying to escape this experience. We're just trying to escape the darkness. We're trying to escape the uncomfortable aspects of being human. It's kind of like that Chinese finger trap. We're just trying to pull out and we get trapped further by it. We must accept it. So the good questions to ask here are, what are you rejecting? What are you glorifying? What are you rejecting and what are you glorifying? That keeps us in that trap of fearing the darkness. On to our third trap. So the third trap is damning the darkness, making it wrong, making it evil, making that darkness the enemy, and glorifying the light. We think, oh, of course, why wouldn't we glorify the light and damn the darkness? But this is a trap. So the truth here is that damning itself is a trap. Resistance, making something evil, creating it as the enemy is a trap. I know that sounds crazy, but it's a trap. And it's just as much of a trap to be spellbinded by looking only into the light. You know this, when you're in a dark room and you just stare into a light, it can be very transfixing. It's a meditation, right? To look at a candle, to look at just one single thing. It can be spellbinding and blinding to everything else. When somebody comes into the room and you've only been looking at the light, it takes your eyes a little bit of time to adjust. So only look into the light is a trap. All right, so the damning is rejection. Anytime we're rejecting, we are in that trap. So if you think about the beauty of this world, you think about what are the fundamental beliefs? Like God created everything. God created everything, meaning that God created, or whatever you believe, created this world. This world exists of dichotomy, of opposites, of polarity, of the light, the dark, the polarity of pain and pleasure, the polarity of depression and elation, and also sadness and joy. The light and the dark must exist in this reality. And if God created this reality and God created everything and it was good, why are we rejecting it? There's a difference between succumbing to the darkness and rejecting it. Let's look at that. So we've been gifted in our creation with free will, God-given free will, and choice itself, it changes everything. So for example, hammers have been around for not only centuries, but for millennia. When the first hieroglyphics are shown, it shows that they had to be chiseled or they had to be painted with some sort of blunt tool, right? So this hammering is a very important tool. It's how we make our houses. It's how we create and build. But a hammer, this tool used in a destructive way, can be very vicious. It can be very aggressive. It can be violent towards ourselves or towards another. And if you think about anything, like any experience or any tool in our lives, it can be used for light attributes or for shadow attributes. It can be used in a constructive way or a deconstructive way. So something like an abusive situation, something you've gone through, a trauma in your life, something as devastating as the death of a child, we can either use that experience to perpetuate the violence and the self-victimization, or we can use it to learn. We can use it to paint our lives with preciousness and the preciousness of the brevity of our life. We can use it however we choose. That's the key word, choose. And we can do that using our free will. So when we are looking at a candle, when we're looking at the sun, the shadows do fall behind us. So looking to this idea of one of the traps being just looking at the light, the shadows fall behind us, but the shadows are also where we hold a lot of the secrets to our entrapment. So if we can use the light to illuminate the shadow, then we can find more of how we've been enslaved by others and by our own selves. So the questions we can ask here are, how are you misusing the tools in your life, the gifts in your life, the things that have happened to you? Are you using them to self-victimize, or are you using them to gain a deeper wisdom, to live from more preciousness, to live from love, to live from gratitude? And can you be the alchemist is the other question. Can you turn those devastating things, the things that you see in the world, and remember that if all is God, if all is beauty, it's all created, it's our choice of how we will use it. Can we be the alchemist? Can we transform it? All right, so let's go into our last truth or trap. The last trap is forfeiting our free will. Let that sink in for a second. Forfeiting our free will. We do it all the time. We do it all the time. So the truth here is that we are creators. There is no evil but by our creation. But there is darkness. There's darkness and there's light. There's death. There's pain. There's sadness. There's grief. But evil is very different. And we also have to remember that we're creating from an individual place, and we're also collectively creating. So there's great, great power in responsibility in owning our divine free will, what we've created in our lives, and then what we've also collectively created. And we have to look at that natural law. How are we looking at life? That natural law of cause and effect, of gravity, right? Morality. Morality falls under that law of cause and effect. So that word evil, let's look at that for a second. The word evil is live, inverted. So we have stopped living by believing in this. This is not some boogeyman that's here to hurt us. We are creating this with what we've been given in this beautiful creation by God. We have taken the darkness. We have taken the fear, something that was meant to be in our bodies to recognize when we need to run from that woolly mammoth, when we need to survive. It is a physical reaction in our bodies that was gifted to us and how we were created. And we have turned this into a daily, momentary reality, a belief system, a weapon. So are we perpetrating a victim mentality, forfeiting our God-given free will? Or are we using it in a way that we can choose powerfully? Because there is nothing that is not God. There is nothing that is not that. The devil did not get kicked out of heaven. We have been given free will, and we are perpetuating the darkness. So the question here is, how are you forfeiting your free will? What belief is perpetuating the victim mentality for you? You guys, I know this is a tough subject. These 4 traps, right? Fear of that darkness will win, fearing that darkness is there, period, and then also damning the darkness or forfeiting our free will. These 4 traps are very challenging for us as humans. And if you want to go deeper, I offer coaching, I offer group coaching, couples counseling. Reach out to me, guys. But remember those questions. What are you focusing on? Can you be the candle? What are you rejecting? How are you misusing those tools? And how are you forfeiting your free will? Check out the oils in the notes that I've recommended for today. And you guys, thanks so much for joining me. Keep raising the vibration. Bye, everybody.